Can adults start learning the violin? Yes. In this video, I'm going to speak from my personal experience as a violin teacher with over 2 decades of teaching both young and adult students, and of course from my personal perspective as a professional violinist. This topic is very important because many adults ask this question before they even begin to play, and often they hesitate because of doubts about age, ability, or talent. From my experience, the answer to this question is not as simple as yes or no. It depends on several important factors that we need to understand step by step. And before we answer whether adults can start playing the violin, we need to understand what violin learning actually requires. Violin is not only an instrument that we can easily take and play like a game. It is a coordination of several systems within the human body, such as pitch awareness, rhythm accuracy, sense of melody, including listening skills and physical coordination. And most importantly, something that is never mentioned enough, repetition. Because to present a musical performance as a whole, it is mandatory to repeat small sections of music over and over again for a long period of time. In violin, nothing is fixed. Every note is placed by ear, every sound is created in the moment, which means the player must constantly listen, adjust, and correct in real time. This is why violin requires patience and long-term training, so that every musical performance can be predicted as much as possible in advance. Now that we understand the technical demands of violin, we can look at how learning differs between children and adults. There is a clear difference between children and adults in learning music. Children learn naturally and develop through imitation and repetition. They are not analyzing the process, they are simply experiencing it. Adults, on the other hand, already have a developed sense of music. They can hear how something should sound. They can immediately try to reproduce it perfectly. But this creates both an advantage and challenge. Adults understand music faster intellectually, but they also become more critical of their own performance from the very beginning. Now we have to make difference between two types of adults. When we talk about adults learning violin, we need to understand that there are two different categories. The first category is adults who already have musical education. They may have played an instrument, sung, and been exposed to music throughout their childhood. These learners are focused on developing the violin as an artistic continuation, focusing on refinement, sound quality, and musical expression on the highest level to be professional musician violinists. But the second category is adult beginners, so people who are starting violin from zero and often with no previous instrumental or any musical experience. This second category is especially important when we ask, can adults start learning the violin? Another important factor is musical exposure. Some adults grew up in musical environments where rhythm, pitch, and listening skills were naturally developed. Others had no musical background at all, no singing, no instruments, and very limited exposure to music. So these differences influence the speed of learning. Adults with musical backgrounds usually adapt faster to coordination and sound perception. Adults without musical backgrounds can still learn violin very successfully at a basic level, including posture, finger placement, bow control. They can play simple pieces with proper guidance. However, the progression into more advanced levels requires talent and significantly more practice time. And now the most important, the role of the body and age. So another important aspect is the physical side of violin playing. Violin requires correct standing or sitting posture, neck and spine stability, and long-term adaptation to the instruments. For adults starting later in life, physical conditioning become important. Activities such as stretching, swimming, yoga, or posture exercises can support the body in adapting to violin playing. As we age, learning often requires more conscious effort, more repetition, and more recovery time. This does not stop learning, but it changes how learning must be approached. And now, along with physical challenges, adult learners also face specific psychological patterns that influence progress. One of the biggest challenges for adults is expectation. Adults often expect immediate results because they already know how a violin should sound. And when they do not achieve that sound quickly, they become frustrated. But the violin is not a fast result instrument. Adults must learn to treat themselves as beginners, like someone learning a completely new physical and musical language. Children usually trust the process naturally, but adults tend to question it more. This is why trust is essential, trust in the teacher and trust in the learning process itself. Without patience and trust, progress becomes blocked by frustration and self-criticism. With all these factors in mind, we can now clearly answer the main question. So, can adults start learning the violin? The answer is definitely yes. However, development depends on previous musical exposure, natural predisposition or talent, consistency of practice, physical conditioning, and long-term commitment to improvement. With an organized practice schedule, discipline, and correct guidance, adults can still develop strong violin skills. And the most important idea is, violin development is not defined by age alone. It is defined by the amount of focused work invested into it. So if you're planning to start violin as an adult, the key is not to rush, but to build skills step by step with patience and consistency. The most important idea is this. Violin development is not defined by age alone. It is defined by the amount of focused work invested into it. If you're planning to start violin as an adult, the key is not to rush, but to build skills step by step with patience and consistency. In my teaching career, I have been working with children for many years. Teaching young students remain as an important and central part of my work. But at the same time, through my online program, World Violin Academy, and teaching students in the international music centers in the UAE, I have developed a strong focus on adult violin learners. Most of my students now are adults, and I'm very proud of their progress, achievements, and commitment to learning violin later in life. This experience has shown me very clearly that adult beginners can learn violin successfully when they are guided through a patient and realistic learning approach. So if you are an adult thinking it might be too late to start violin, I want to encourage you, because adult beginners are a significant part of my teaching journey, and you are most welcome in my program. If you would like to book one-on-one violin lesson with me, visit worldviolinacademy.com. But if you would like to learn more, watch my next video lecture. If you would like to listen to my violin performance, follow the link below. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.